Hi and welcome to the newest video. Today we're gonna talk about top coating with resin. I think it's a perfect time to talk about it because it's getting colder and a lot of you don't know the tips and tricks I'm using and are very advanced, especially important during the cold time where it's fall, winter and early spring when the temperature drops and there is a small mistake that everyone is doing to completely ruin the top coating. So if you want to learn everything about that, stay till the end of the video, and today I'm gonna share my 5 best tips to achieve spotless and beautiful high gloss top coat with resin. So let's start first with tip number 1. When you calculate the resin that you need to use, always use Resin Calculator. If your resin that you are using is having its own calculator, it's best to use that. But if you don't have a calculator for the resin, specific resin that you are using, you can easily use Art Resin Calculator. You can Google Art Resin Calculator and it's gonna show you how much resin you need for the project. And it's super crucial because it's so easy to overflow or underflow your painting or any kind of project that you are working on. And if you don't use enough resin, you are gonna have the cellulite and those dumps and craters on the surface. So it's crucial to have enough resin. But before you continue, always add 10% to the amount that the resin calculator is showing you. Why? It's because we don't want to use the exactly entire resin from the cup. When you mix the resin, you need to do it slow, right? And you need to scrape and scratch and properly, truly mix the resin to combine two ingredients. You have the resin part and the hardener part. And it's very crucial to do it properly, but there is a high chance that something is left on the side of your cup. So when you pour the resin for the top coat, you don't want to use the exactly entire amount from the cup that you are mixing on. You want to leave a little bit on the sides and on the bottom, and then use this leftover for like highlighter casting or for the druzy. So add always 10% extra so you don't have to scrape the entire jar or cup from the resin that you mix in to have exactly the amount that you need. Tip number 2. This is something that so many of you are doing the mistake. You have to switch the stick that you are using for mixing. If you distribute the resin on the surface of the painting with a stick and not with your gloves and with your hands, always switch the stick. Your stick is getting in the resin in the cup and mixing, and it's having a lot of elements not mixed properly. So you need to make sure that before you start distributing and moving the resin on the surface of your painting, the stick is clean and fresh and new, and you are not using it for mixing the resin in the cup. Rule number 3, tip number 3. It's so crucial to not use covers. So many of you are covering and getting ready to build those cover-ups for the paintings, because as you know, resin, when it's curing for many hours, it's still catching whatever is happening in the room. It can catch dust particles and flies and hair and everything. So many of you are using covers or building covers or using storage containers to cover your paintings before you move on and let it cure, just in case nothing is gonna fly. What is really bad about that is that those covers are collecting dust themselves. You have to store those covers, right? You have to have them laying around for many weeks and months, and they are collecting dust constantly. And it's so easy to dump dust from the covers onto your painting. You will do all of the beautiful work on popping the bubbles and checking the surface and removing the dust and hair and whatever is happening there. and then you put the cover and the particles of dust are gonna fly from the cover or from the foil down in your painting. So don't use covers. What to do instead? You can find out by getting my beginner's training for the resin artists. I'm having a super amazing beginner's training, and I'm covering all of the details what to do instead, and also I'm covering all of those details in my courses for the resin art. But don't forget that the rule that there's still 2 tips from me, so keep watching because the most important tip is gonna be at the end of this video. Next tip from me is, if you are doing a lot of resin projects and top coating, it's better to get a separate resin for top coating. And you sometimes are using specific resin like geode resins and like more resins that are creating specific cells and are creating specific effects, are more dense and are having high viscosity. My tip for you is to have a less headache. Just use resin that is having self-release of the bubbles. They're having some special ingredients mixed in the resins. They're so easy to work with. Just use a brand and the type of resin that is having the self-release of bubbles. It's gonna help you tremendously to not overheat the resin, to not go with the torch multiple times or with the heat gun. You will not have to warm it up constantly to pop those bubbles. It is gonna help you in the process, and it's gonna help you get spotless results along the way much easier and with less effort, right? And the 5th rule, which is the most important, as I mentioned, and so many of you are making this mistake, remember that resin is super sensitive to temperatures. Whenever is coming to the time of the year when it's getting colder, especially if you're having the resin in a room that is not constantly heated up, right? If you're not warming the room to 20 degrees Celsius every single day and night, all day, every day, 24 hours, and the temperature is dropping at night in the room to like 17 degrees, 16 degrees, 15 degrees, remember, it's crucial to warm up the resin. So what I recommend is putting the containers, 2 separate containers, before you mix in the cup the resin for 15 minutes into hot water, and then just let it be in the hot water, let it stand there, let it warm up a little bit. And when the resin is warm up, just mix as always. Just combine two elements in the cup and just mix it and do the same process as usual. Resin is usually having enough long pot life to last you for the time that you need to work on the top coating, right? Top coating is like mixing, pouring, cleaning the surface. So even if warming up resin is shortening the pot life, so the time that you have for working with resin is gonna be still enough for you to do the top coat, because you are not working a lot with the resin, you are not creating designs when you are top coating. And if you forget to do that, sometimes I forget to do that, I mix the resin and I was mixing it in the cup and I was feeling with my hand that the resin is dense, because your hand is starting to hurt when you are mixing. You have to mix it for 3 to 4 minutes. So just remember that it's still not all gone, right? Many times I was putting the cup in with already mixed resin in the hot water. Just be super careful about the process, because you cannot allow the water to get into your resin. It's super crucial that you wipe the cup from the water. Water and resin is like oil and water, right? You are gonna have your top coat is gonna be ruined when there's gonna be water in the resin. So remember that if you decide to do it, always get the jars, the containers, the cups clean and swipe from the water. Just use paper towels, wipe everything properly, make sure that there is not even one drop of water before you move on and start to pouring and moving the cup above your painting, because you don't want the water to get into the resin. But this is it, guys. But if you want to learn more, if you want to learn all about the mistakes that many artists are doing, I'm having amazing training for the beginners and also advanced artists who are just missing some steps and are getting frustrated. If anything is happening along the way that is not working for you, remember that I have also one-on-one consultation. We can book consultation together. We can work through your process. I'm also having ability with my couple of years of experience with working with resin and different mediums like alcohol inks and acrylics. I can easily troubleshoot whatever is happening with your painting and why you are not getting the results or why it's not working the way and you are getting frustrated. I can help you troubleshoot the problems that you are having. If you want to get ready for you, done for you, training with all of the steps that you need to take for working with resin, room preparation, which products to choose, and all of this informations, how to avoid top mistakes that everyone is doing. I'm having a very cool and affordable mini training for you guys prepared. It's super affordable, so whatever works for you, I'm here to help you. And if you want to get many tips, tutorials and tricks along the way about resin and alcohol inks, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you so much for being here and watching, and I'm sure that we are connect soon, and I'm gonna meet you in the next video.